if you think mind control is just some paranoid delusion, you'd be wrong. And nature's the proof. I mean, there's wasps that inject spiders with toxic venom, hijack their nervous system, and force them to spin cocoons for the wasps' own eggs. And have you ever walked through a doorway and instantly forgotten why you walked in? Well, it's more common than you'd think, and it's an actual studied phenomenon. The experts call it the doorway effect. So yeah, there's some crazy facts out there. Here's 20. Let's go. If you thought high heels were always a staple of women's fashion, that's not quite right. In actual fact, they were originally designed for men. In 10th century Persia, male cavalry warriors wore high heels to secure their feet in stirrups during battle. This gave them better control while shooting arrows on horseback. These riders soon caught the eye of European aristocrats who started wearing their very own stilettos. Not for function, but for fashion. If you've ever thought about getting one of those clever joke-style license plates, maybe don't. One guy in California found out the hard way when he decided to register his plate as no plate. But unfortunately, the ticketing system took it literally. Whenever the cops issued a ticket to a car without a plate, they'd just write no plate on the report. And as you'd expect, the system recorded the fine against the owner of the corresponding plate. I'll admit, the joke was pretty clever, but I doubt he found it funny. I mean, he's still paying off the 2,500 tickets he got in the mail. I get it. They may seem like unnecessary evolutionary leftovers, but your fingernails are a bit more complex than you think. As they grow, they capture traces of cortisol, the hormone your body releases during stress, locking it into their keratin structure like biological timestamps. Scientists can analyze these layers to piece together a detailed timeline of every time you broke down, burned out, or quite literally lost the plot. So while they may look pointless, your fingernails are the body's version of an emotional black box. In 1898, author Morgan Robertson published a novella, a short novel typically under 40,000 words, titled Futility. It told the story of a massive British passenger liner deemed unsinkable that struck an iceberg around midnight and sank in the North Atlantic. The ship was roughly 800 feet long and didn't have enough lifeboats for all the passengers. The story mirrored, in eerie detail, the real-life sinking of the Titanic. The only issue was it was released around 14 years before the actual event. There's a parasitic wasp that turns spiders into 8-legged zombies. These orb weaver spiders are known for their intricate wheel-shaped webs, but after they've been stung, this is where things get a little crazy. The wasp injects a neurotoxic venom that hijacks the spider's nervous system, forcing it to spin a bizarre reinforced web unlike anything it would normally construct. And it gets better. When they're done, the wasp lays eggs in the spider's abdomen. The larva hatches, devours the still living spider, and then uses the web as a ready-made cocoon. It's nature's version of mind control, and it's terrifying. In 2017, police raided a suburban New York home and stumbled straight into a scene out of the movie Jaws. In an above-ground pool in a dimly lit basement were 7 very much alive sharks. There was a tiger shark and other endangered species, and the guy didn't even have any licenses or permits, just a hidden marine side hustle that wasn't all that well thought out. His plan was to try and sell the sharks online. I mean, is there really a demand for live pet sharks out of some guy's basement? Surely Pokemon cards were the better option. Have you ever walked into a room and then instantly forgotten why you went in? Well, that's called the doorway effect, and it's a real scientifically studied phenomenon. Psychologists believe that passing through a doorway acts like a mental reset button. It prompts your brain to file away all those existing thoughts and prepare for the next. The only downside is that this reset can disrupt short-term memory and make you completely forget what you were doing. So if you've had a rough day, just walk through a doorway. You won't remember a thing. The most mysterious text on Earth? Well, that would be the Voynich Manuscript. It's a medieval textbook written in a language no one, not historians, not code breakers, not even supercomputers, have ever been able to decode. It's filled with bizarre botanical drawings of plants that don't exist, strange astrological diagrams that don't correlate to anything we understand, and women lounging around in murky, glowing green water for no apparent reason. No one knows who wrote it, why it was created, or whether it was just some medieval alchemist's version of a poorly thought out prank. Your gut does far more than just digest your lunch. It's quietly influencing your behavior. Hidden in your intestines are trillions of microbes that produce neuroactive chemicals like serotonin and dopamine, the very chemicals regulating mood, appetite, and decision making. These microscopic puppet masters can shape your cravings and alter your emotions to the point where scientists now refer to the gut as the second brain. So the next time you're deciding between a Big Mac or broccoli, ask yourself, who's making the decisions here? Have you ever wondered where the word muscle came from? Probably not, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It traces back to the Latin word musculus, which literally means little mouse. The Romans thought muscles, especially when flexed, looked like little mice scurrying beneath the skin. And strangely enough, the ancient Greeks had a similar idea. They used the word mus, which means both mouse and muscle. Deep in the deserts of New Mexico lives a bunch of lizards who've completely ditched the whole male thing. The New Mexico whiptail species is made up entirely of females. But wouldn't they need males to reproduce? Well, no, they just clone themselves. Through a process called parthenogenesis, they reproduce by duplicating their own eggs, triggering cell division by bypassing the fertilization process entirely. No males, just perfect genetic copies, generation after generation. What if everything, your thoughts, your memories, the stars above, is all just part of a computer program? Well, people seriously believe this. It's called the simulation hypothesis, a theory suggesting we're all artificial consciousness inside a super advanced civilization's simulation. And the scary thing is, it might actually be true. Mathematicians argue that if simulated worlds can exist, they'd vastly outnumber real ones, which means there's a real possibility you're not the original, you're the code. Have you ever heard of immune privileged sites? Well, your brain is one of them. These are unique areas in the body where the immune system doesn't react as it normally would. That's because even a mild immune response, like inflammation or swelling, can be catastrophic in tightly confined, high priority regions like the brain. Swelling can crush neurons, disrupt vital functions, and even cause permanent damage. So to prevent this, the body just turns a blind eye, allowing foreign tissue to slip by unnoticed. They're the only places where the body's normal defenses are willingly traded for preservation. On April 18th, 1930, something highly unusual happened during the BBC's evening news broadcast. Absolutely nothing. When the bulletin rolled around, the announcer came on air and calmly stated, "There is no news." Back then, if a story wasn't truly important, it simply wasn't news. They instead filled the slot with 15 minutes of straight up solo piano music. These days, you'd be lucky to go 5 minutes without hearing about Earth's imminent destruction. In medieval times, the basilisk, the mythical creature said to be part rooster, part serpent, was feared not only for its lethal stare, but its breath. That's right, to the point where people thought basilisk breath could shatter stone and kill on contact. The fear of basilisks was so strong that medieval medical texts even offered some unconventional survival strategies, like carrying mirrors to deflect its gaze, unleashing trained weasels, thought to be naturally immune, to hunt them down, or even the reminder that if you're traveling through basilisk territory, don't forget to bring along a rooster. The rooster's crow believed to be the basilisk's one fatal weakness. Just be careful the next time you step outside. I mean, there's a chance you might instantly get drunk. You probably need the context. I'm talking about the infamous beer flood of 1814 at London's Mew & Co brewery. A massive fermentation vat holding over 1.4 million litres of dark ale suddenly ruptured, triggering a chain reaction that sent a tsunami's worth of beer crashing through the streets. Walls collapsed, cellars flooded, and tragically, several people drowned. Drowning in beer? I mean, I can think of worse ways to die. In Victorian England, superstitions surrounding death were taken incredibly seriously. None more so than the eerie belief that mirrors could trap the souls of the dead. It was thought that if a mirror reflected the image of a corpse, the soul might become imprisoned within the glass for eternity. They'd be trapped and unable to pass on to the afterlife. So when someone died, the house where the body was displayed, they called this the mourning house, was given a full paranormal makeover. They covered every mirror and reflective surface with thick black fabric. Because it's never good waking up in the morning, glancing at the mirror and seeing a creepy corpse staring back. Are you feeling a little stressed? Well, why don't you try staring at some flowers? No joke, studies show that even a short gaze at a bunch of daisies lowers cortisol levels and reduces blood pressure. It's nature's own anxiety hack. I mean, just a few minutes of flower watching calms the nervous system, elevates mood, and triggers a relaxation response that'll have you thinking you're sipping cocktails on the beach without a worry in the world. The ancient Egyptians really knew how to party. I mean, just have a look at their calendar. It ran a bit short at officially 12 30-day months. Now, basic maths, although I'm pretty rubbish at it, tells me that this only comes to 360 days. So what happened to the remaining 5? Well, these were known as the epigomenal days, nearly a week-long non-stop party. They marked the birthdays of the 5 powerful gods, Osiris, Horus, Set, Isis, and Nephthys. There were feasts, fancy music, and Egyptian rituals for days. Partying for a week every year. I think they were onto something. The world's first photograph was anything but instant. In 1826, French inventor Joseph Nice aimed his homemade camera, a basic wooden box with a lens, out of his upstairs window and just waited. And waited, and waited. Back then, it took 8 hours to expose a single photo. The result, a blurry, grainy image that was barely recognizable. And despite some arguing that he'd just wasted 8 hours of his life, this blurry rooftop photo marked a historic moment. It paved the way for everything from space telescopes to selfies. So, if these random facts taught you anything, I'd probably start with avoid keeping live sharks in a basement. Think twice before ordering that mildly offensive license plate, no matter how hilarious it is. And if you're worried about wasp zombie mind control, go out and stare at some flowers. You'll calm right down. And don't worry, there's facts for days. Just one click will lead you down a rabbit hole of weird, wonderful, and entirely random facts. But that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.